What is up, you guys? This is Matthew Davis, the movie lover here, and today I am counting down my picks for the top 10 best video game sequels. Now, in order for a video game sequel to make the list, they have to be ones that I've played, and I kind of have to think they're better than the original. Sort of. Not all of these I thought were better than the original. Most of them were, though, but also, and finally, they have to be second installments. As much as I love Resident Evil 4 and Gears of War 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5, I cannot add them because mainly they have to be second installments. They have to be first sequel. And as much as how great Super Mario Bros. 3 is, that can't be included either. Okay, so anyways, welcome guys. This is my list for the top 10 best video game sequels. Starting things off with number 10. Left 4 Dead 2 brings the zombie genre to a whole new level, with more melee weapons and more creative and more funny ways to kill zombies, with impressive melee weapons including, the ninja sword, frying pan, guitar, chainsaw, and stuff like that. It's like if you took Doom and put zombies in it. Oh, and you could play it with your friends. They just brought a new era into zombie gaming with this. This is a blast to play with friends. It has a really enjoyable first person and co-op mode. If you haven't played Left 4 Dead 2, I highly suggest you play it, even if you haven't played the first game. Alright guys, let's move on with number 9, which was a huge improvement over the first game to a lot of fans. I really enjoyed the first Borderlands. I found it to be very underrated, but the sequel was so better in every sense of the word, with a far more wider open world and more missions to complete and more characters and just everything from the opening to, even though I haven't beaten this game yet, it's still a hell of a lot of fun to play, and I got to play this with a friend of mine before I got this game. This is the Borderlands Handsome Collection, which includes Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel. This is definitely, the first game is an absolute masterpiece of a video game. One of the best first-person shooters I've ever played, and one of the best cel-shaded games, and one of the funniest video games I've ever played. Definitely play Borderlands 2. Alright guys, let's move on with number 8. Even though I have not played the first Silent Hill, I can still say Silent Hill 2 is still an amazing video game, alright? Even though I never heard the story of the first game because I don't even have the first game, because it's really hard to find. But guys, Silent Hill 2 put everything from emotion to really great art style and to an amazing combat system to its very intense use of intense scares throughout. It's really hard to explain. It's a game that's really hard to figure out until, sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me. But it is an incredible experience. It's just a breathtaking environment and definitely getting into an amazing story. It works up to when we're playing it today. I know it doesn't really make much sense, but all I can say is Silent Hill 2 definitely earns a spot on this list. Alright guys, let's move on with number 7. Resident Evil 2 is an awesome survival horror game. I mean, from the puzzles, which it didn't really have that much puzzles than I thought it would have, but Resident Evil 2 is an amazing survival horror zombie game. One of my favorite zombie games of all time. It took me a while to get past the first part since it's really hard to use the controls for the beginning, but it's definitely an amazing survival horror game. with some very interesting dialogue, which the dialogue is still, but I can say the dialogue is a lot better than what it sounds like in the first game, even though I haven't played the first game, but I have seen clips of the first game. But anyways, Resident Evil 2 definitely took a new era in the Resident Evil franchise. Alright guys, let us move on with number 6, and I do count this as a sequel, because, yeah, I just count it as a sequel. Number 6. Batman Arkham Asylum was a really good game, but guys, its sequel is way better. It has a large open world and a better combat system, which gives you more upgrades and more level design, and a longer, more endearing story than any other Batman Arkham game. While I think Batman Arkham Knight is also a really good open world game from the Batman Arkham series, but it still doesn't beat Batman Arkham City. You know, such an amazing game, and I cannot wait till I get to the very end of this game. And but yeah, I thought the boss battles were better, and the graphics more enhanced better, and I thought the game over screens were a little bit more creative. But Batman Arkham City is an amazing superhero video game. Highly recommend it. Now let's move on to number 5. Mass Effect 2 is better than the first game. I immediately said it. But guys, after the events of Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2 took a whole new story and a whole new group of characters into better graphics and a better combat system, and making it into more missions and more story. And or it'll take you like days to complete this game, and it doesn't get any old. It doesn't get old at all. But guys, definitely Mass Effect 2 is definitely one of the best third-person games I've ever played, and I highly suggest you play it for yourself, you guys. Alright, so let's move on to number 4. Yeah, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, right there. Yeah, I got the Nathan Drake collection, but I guess I'll just hold it like this. Anyways, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves took gamers by surprise to be better than the first game. I mean, the first game was really good, but the second game took it into a better story and a much more dramatic and more epic opening sequence. And, you know, new characters and a new story, making this a one-of-a-kind, one of the best video games for PS3, even though I don't even have a PS3. But this was released on PS3 and I got it on PS4, so I guess I could count it then. But anyways, definitely play Uncharted 2. Even though the fourth game I thought was the best in the series, still, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is definitely, I thought was the second best in the series. So yeah, definitely play Uncharted 2. Alright guys, let us move on with number 3. And yeah guys, number 3 definitely gets a really high spot for being in one of my all-time favorite franchises. Okay, to be honest, Gears of War 2 used to be my favorite in the series until we got Gears of War 4. But guys, I still love this game. It's still a great second installment in the Gears of War series. Thought it was way better than the first game. The first game is still always going to be a great game. It's still going to be one of the best first installments in video games I've ever played, even though that boss is so fucking hard. That's one thing I liked about this game, is that it was a lot more easier, and you know, if you lost your health, you know, people can revive you, get you back up, and yeah. But this game had some more emotion to it than the first game, and it had, you know, such, you know, heartbreaking moments and such very intense and epic moments and a lot more fun boss fights, and definitely a very strong contender for one of my favorite video game sequels of all time. Alright guys, let's move on with number 2. And number 2, and both the last 2 games are 2 of my all-time favorites. Number 2 is... Of course, how could I not put Portal 2? Portal 2, oh my god, it is a gorgeous looking game. You know, a first person's perspective with the return of GLaDOS, which isn't the main villain anymore. That would go to the idiot of the game, Wheatley. Although Wheatley is an enjoyable bad guy. He used to be a good guy, but now he's a bad... I mean, really. I mean, what really makes him very likable is his fact of him being just an idiot throughout. You know, he's designed to be a moron, but that's what makes him such a funny character. As well as, you know, GLaDOS making some very, very funny lines as well. This is a very comedic video game with, you know, lines, you know, just random comedy lines coming out through here and there. Even though it's not a T-rated game, they turned it into an E10 game. It's still such a great game. And even though you don't fight anybody, and I mean, you do fight Wheatley at the end of the game, spoiler alert, even though you can't really fight, I mean, you can't, okay, even though you don't have any weapons to kill people with, all that you have is the portal gun, which you only use to make puzzles or shoot bullet holes. It's definitely a great puzzle game, one of my favorite puzzle games of all time next to Tetris. Definitely play Portal 2. Just phenomenal. Alright guys, you knew what number 1 was going to be. I'm not going to make you guys guess anymore. My number 1 favorite video game sequel is... Half-Life 2, guys. You saw this coming if you saw my latest best video games of all time list. Half-Life 2 is my favorite video game sequel and my favorite video game of all time. And I'm serious. It's everything I wanted out of a video game, through amazing AI, through incredible graphics, through very, very awesome combat, into a first-person perspective with a lot of ammunition throughout, and the gravity gun, use of puzzles. It's everything I wanted out of a fucking video game. I had to put it at number 1, of course. And it's definitely, you definitely have to play this game, even if you haven't gotten the first game. But guys, Half-Life 2 is a masterpiece, you guys. I love it so much, guys. And it easily takes my spot for the best video game sequel ever. So, what are your top 10 favorite video game sequels? Tell me in the comments section below, and I will see you guys later. Word out.